Hi, I'm Jessica Brown from the Centre for Independent Studies, and I'm here at Concilium at Coolum with Senator David Coltart from Zimbabwe. Welcome. Senator, Zimbabwe is a country with a GDP per capita of $157 last year. That's something that's very difficult for many Australians really to even understand or comprehend. I mean, what's life like in this situation?
Well, obviously very tough. In the last 10 years, we've seen pensions destroyed, the savings of virtually every single person outside a small corrupt elite destroyed. And of course, it's had a huge impact on society. But it's even worse than that, because in the last 5 years, we've had a cholera outbreak. 3 million Zimbabweans have left the country in the last 10 years. So there's been serious disruption to families as well. There is hardly a family left in Zimbabwe which has not been adversely affected by what has happened. But in the last 2 years, we've started to pick up. So there is, despite all of that horror, some hope.
And what has caused this turnaround? Is it the political compromise that's been reached?
It's mainly that. The region, that is SADC, has said to all three political parties in Zimbabwe that the rot has to stop. And that has resulted in this compromise and a process of taking the country through to a new constitution and to free and fair elections. It's by no means guaranteed that this will work, but it is working basically at this time.
So you've had a very interesting personal journey yourself, going from being very much in the opposition to becoming part of this compromise solution. I mean, what was your thinking behind that? How do you feel it's working? Are you optimistic?
Well, in 2008, we faced a situation in which the country could well have degenerated down to the level of Liberia or Somalia. It was clear that there was a military elite which had its hands on diamond money, which would have sustained it for some time. And it was clearly determined and prepared to let the country collapse. And the region offered us this compromise, a non-violent way of resolving our problems. And given that stark option, we grasped it. We have now started to stabilize. We've tackled inflation. We've got inflation down to 4% this year. The economy this year looks as though it will grow by 9%, albeit off a very small base. But people are no longer starving. We've tackled the cholera crisis. In the ministry that I'm responsible for, we've got children back at school and textbooks into classrooms. And so people have hope again.
And you've been, in your role as Minister for Education, you've been personally involved with UNICEF in setting up a project to get international donors back in. How's that worked?
That's worked very well. We've mobilized some $52 million in the last two years. We've got the textbook ratio in primary schools from one textbook for 15 children on average down to a 1-to-1 ratio. And we've stabilized the entire education sector in a relatively short space of time. UNICEF views this as one of its most successful programs worldwide. And we're now looking at extending that program into a second phase and even taking that concept into other ministries.
So international donors have come in. What about getting other international countries back in? I'm thinking of what about sport and these type of interactions with the world? Is Zimbabwe moving back onto the world stage, or is it too premature for that?
No, it isn't premature. I've made this argument that sport can bind a nation and improve relations between nations. And in the last couple of years, I've worked very hard to try and get sporting ties restored. For example, with Australia, I met Greg Lindsay last year prior to discussions with Cricket Australia and the Australian government, and that has resulted in Australia A just touring Zimbabwe. And in other sports as well, we are gradually restoring sport. When I get home, I'll be putting the final touches to Zimbabwe hosting the All Africa Olympic hockey qualifiers, and that will mark yet another step in the right direction for hockey, and the same as applies to many other sports, rugby and other sports as well.
Excellent. Well, it seems like there's a long way to go, but you sound pretty optimistic.
Well, I am. I'm cautiously optimistic. I recognise this is a fragile process. No one can guarantee that it will end well. But to put it negatively, it's all that we've got. But to put it positively, it is working at present.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining us here at Concilium, Senator Coltart.
Thank you.